Hey everyone, it's good to see you today, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this initiative, this conversation today as part of the Share the Plate initiative. It is a program through a new collective that a friend of mine, Yoli, and I founded. It's called the Food and Wellness Equity Collective, and it is for content creators and entrepreneurs who want to be change agents for anti racism, diversity, and equity in the food and wellness world. So I am super thrilled to be a part of it. And today's conversation is part of our first campaign, you could say, just to bring to light topics of food and wellness equity. And today I will be joined by Agatha Akindu. She is the founder of an organic baby food company, and I know you are all going to love her because she's amazing. So I am waiting to see if she's going to show up. And we can, oh, there she is. We'll get started when she joins me. So thank you again so much for being here, everyone. All right, let's see. This should work. Right. Hello and welcome to everyone. I really appreciate you joining. And here is Agatha. Agatha, welcome. Hi.
Thank you. Hi.
Look at us. We match.
Oh my gosh, I love serendipity. Look at this.
Color
And this is
coordination.
not planned. This is not planned at all. You see, we are
Oh, I love
vibing.
it. I love it. Well, I'm so thrilled to have you today, Agatha. And I was just giving everyone a little bit of background about you. That you are the founder of Yummy Spoonfuls, which is an organic baby food company that you started back in 2006. And I thought you can share a little bit about your journey. But first, I know that we wanted to get right to the meaty stuff right away, right?
That's right.
So I will start off by asking you, I was doing a little bit of stalking on Agatha and reading up about her on Forbes. And Agatha, you said in that article that you started your business. It was taking off. Product was flying off the shelves. But when you started looking for capital to fund your business, you said you quickly learned how difficult it was to raise money as a minority, let alone a Black woman. So with that as the background, can you give us a little bit of a glimpse into starting your business and then how that really posed a challenge for you?
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, as you saw in that Forbes article, it didn't even cross my mind that funding was going to be an issue because at this point I had a brand that was in Whole Foods, was on Amazon, Din and DeLuca, and it was selling off the shelf. This was something that parents want. But then I realized that, well, it's not easy as a woman first, then double strike as a woman of color to get money. So when I would send paperwork, it looks so good. There is cash flow, there is this, there is that. But then when I present, it's like, oh, no, not so much. It's risky business, you know. So that was a nightmare for me. But then I got to a point where even when I started looking, because at this point I'm looking for whichever way is going to work. Is it through the banks? Is it angel investors? Is this what am I going to do? Because at this point I was tired trying to look for a white face to represent me, which is unfortunate, but it's my truth. That's my journey. I remember the first time that I was called to present at Baby Saras and calling for, I think I called a friend of mine, Isolde, who is white. She's British. She has a beautiful accent because I have an accent. So I'm looking for somebody with an accent so that she can go and present, even though I'm there at the background doing all the little work, because nobody wanted to talk to a Black person, which is a sad reality. and we are not where we want to go, but we're making little progress. And it took me almost 14 years to finally get a partnership that could open the doors to get the type of funding that we needed to grow this brand. That I started Yummy Spoonfuls just to fulfill a need in my community. I had a good job, had a good career. I wasn't looking to start a business, but there was a need because I was teaching moms, teaching parents, teaching any caregiver how to make better food choices for their kids, how to cook at home, how to avoid all the little things that were making their kids sick without them even knowing. Just trying to tell parents, help people understand that they do have a choice when it comes to what they eat and how they feel. But then it got to a point where I'm like, oh, a lot of the people that I'm talking to are like me. They have 2 to 3 jobs. They don't have the time to make all the foods at home like they would like. Why don't I make something just like I make at home so then they can have the choice without feeling guilty all the time? Because that's the thing. It's almost like there are 2 sets of parents in America. You have the people you have that group that either have money to buy the type of food that they can afford, or those who don't have a lot of money, but they have time to cook the type of food. Then you have parents like us that we don't have a ton of money and we don't have a ton of time. But our children shouldn't eat any less because food that kids eat is paramount to their health. It's not like adults that we eat for maintenance. Children eat for development. So that was it. But I'm happy today. I mean, Yummy Spoonfuls is in Walmart stores nationwide, and it's an organic food for kids from, I want to say, it might be 9 months to 5 years. And food is made like you would at home, with not a drop of preservatives in it, made from scratch in small batches with real ingredients that you can find in your own home kitchen.
Right. So it's a huge success story. I mean, going from you had this passion that you wanted to help moms and dads feed their children the food that they need for development. And I did some reading on your background. You grew up in Cameroon, and I liked just learning about how you grew up with all organic fruits and vegetables and amazing fresh food. And then you came here to the States and just saw this industrialized processed food system that you were a part of. And that was kind of the catalyst for some of your work in food. So it is crazy to see today the growth that you've had, but it's also just so unfortunate that it took so long, 14 years, for you to be able to find funding for something that was so needed in the marketplace.
Yeah, but though, when I think about it, I can't help but be grateful because I think God is intentional in a way. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of women like me who put everything they own to start a business,
Right.
to serve a need in their community, and they lose that money and they lose everything. So at least I am here. I want to say, yeah, there is hard work, but a lot of people do work hard. So, but it's really hard. And I tell people, if you work for a company, it doesn't matter what company, keep your eyes and ears open because opportunities that you have, not everybody does have those type of opportunities. And you being at the table as a woman, especially as a white woman, you can really help make a difference, whether it's for funding, whether it's bringing a new product into the store, all those things that are not as obvious as, racism on the streets with the police and somebody not getting the promotion that they need. It's everywhere, especially in manufacturing space. That's such a male dominated
Mm-hmm.
industry to see.
That's a great challenge to all of the white women listening of ways that we can be an ally and be an advocate for our Black sisters, as just stepping up and partnering and helping to help businesses grow and flourish. And I know, Agatha, you did partner with a white woman who's actually a pretty high profile white woman. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. I think when I met with Camila, it was 2015.
So this is
And
Camila McConaughey, Alves
yeah,
McConaughey. Yes.
yeah. When I met with her in 2015, at this point we were in Whole Foods, but just in the southeastern region. We were in Dina and DeLuca in New York. And we were, I think at that point, yeah, we've been on Amazon for it might be 8 years at that point. When we met, Sarah Chapin had connected me to Camila's team. And I remember when we met, we sat in a taco bar, flew to LA. We sat in a taco bar in LA and we just talked. And it was heartwarming to say the least when you sit with somebody who shares your vision when it comes to nutrition for kids. Not
Mm-hmm.
just because as a mother, but I think for her childhood as well. She grew up in Brazil and she grew up as farmer's daughter, so she had the connection with real food. Because prior to that, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't have people who wanted to invest in Yummy. I had a lot of people. But
Mm-hmm.
the moment you sit with somebody talking about growing the brand and all they see is money, money, and you could just feel that within a year you would be so far removed from the core mission of the brand, which is nutrition. It's never, I'm blessed that I am making money doing something that's so much needed. And I think at the end of the day, when I talk to people who are trying to start new businesses or even existing brands who would bring me on to talk, is that you shouldn't start from money. When you're doing good, money comes. I think at the end of the day, that's how I want to be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I make money doing the right things. It's the type of food that nourishes children without any preservatives. I mean, the fact that we are in Walmart today is a testament that you don't always have to cut corners. You
Mm-hmm.
can make good money the way I would refer to it. The type of money that I make is good money. So I was looking for a partner
Mm-hmm.
that had that vision that it's not just the money, it's us making a difference in the lives of so many by
Mm-hmm.
providing the type of foods that we eat in our own homes and then let the money come. And so sitting with her, it was almost like me hearing myself speak and she hearing herself speak.
Mm-hmm.
We shook hands that day, no lawyers, nobody. Of course, granted, today we've had enough lawyers and all that as business. But as two women, we shook hands and we're like, okay, let's do this. And
Yeah.
that was it. Yes.
That's amazing. I love that point about mission-based business and that the money will follow when you're following your heart and the way that you want to make a difference in the world. The
Yeah.
money will come, or you'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
And
It
that
really
is the
would
thing.
come, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit too about your passion. I mean, just so Agatha and I talked yesterday on the phone, and even just a few minutes in, you can just tell your love for community and your desire
Yeah.
just to feed people and love on them. And I just really, really love that about you. Have a huge passion for food justice and you're involved in
Yeah.
policy. Can you talk a little bit about just kind of some of the inequities that you see in the food system? That's something we talk about over here quite a bit, but a little bit about that and maybe just some ideas of things that everyday people can do.
And it's so funny because a little background. When I tell people, they're like, "Oh, what made you decide to start Yummy Spoonfuls?" And I'm like, "No, Yummy Spoonfuls found me. I didn't get up that I wanted to start a business. I was in IT. I had a wonderful job making good money. But from when I got to this country and saw the disparity, like you can go to a grocery store in a high-end neighborhood and go to the same type of grocery store in another neighborhood, and you see two different sets of products. I had started teaching from when I came to this country, little tweaks that you can make to, eat better regardless of your budget. And that little workshop, it kept growing and growing. And it got to a point where I was a lot more focused on children because I knew, and looking from the inside out, it was so easy for me to see. Like you have a parent who is taking their child to the pediatrician every week for an ear infection. And I'm like, that child needs some nutrients in their system. Anyways, I started doing this workshop. I remember, I think in the mid 90s, I had gone to the store and picked, I think it was a lemon tart. I will never forget. When I looked at the label, the back, that was when label reading wasn't fashionable.
Right.
It didn't have any. It was lemon cream tart. It didn't have any lemon. It didn't have any cream, no milk. I called the company, went to the website, called. They're like, oh, if you read the label well, all the way to the end, it has lemon flavor. That was my first time writing to Congress.
Oh,
whether
wow.
that was ever received, but that blew my mind. How messed up even the labeling system, packaging, and all these people are being taken for a ride. But when we talk about racism, we don't think how it affects our food system. And sometimes there is a little bit of confusion because people would often think about the fact that, oh, well, it's just food stamps. People need to go get a job. So today I don't even want to talk about food stamps, at least now, because that I want to plug in when we think about helping our communities, what we can do. But let's talk about somebody, a friend of mine. She grew up in Southside Chicago.
Okay.
Her neighborhood, it might be 15 miles radius. They have movie theaters, they have gas stations, and they have like the type of dollar stores. This is a problem. So even for somebody who has money, the mother had a regular job. So she goes to work and she has money, but she can walk or she can just drive for 5-6 minutes to a grocery store. She needs to drive out of her neighborhood. The problem is there are subsidies that support grocery stores in white neighborhoods, which makes it easy for retailers to take the type of risk to open their stores there.
Right.
But those type of subsidies don't go to these underserved, underprivileged neighborhoods. That's such a huge disparity. And if you think that the food, especially for kids, food that they eat is who they are, who they become. But then you have children who never have anything nutritious to eat.
Right.
And then you have them go to school. And this is another problem. Because then the schools in those areas, if you look at the food that's served in the underprivileged public schools and the food that's served in the white and affluent neighborhoods, schools in those areas, even though they are both public schools, it's night and day. It's almost like kids in this country kids with less money from day one, they are just set up to fail
That was just what I was
in
thinking. Yeah.
so many little levels that
Mhm.
people don't even think about. And so what I have tried to do in the past 25 years, and people till this day, they still ask me because they're like, why you share so much? You should be charging. And I'm like, I charge the people, trust me, but I need to always share. If
Mhm.
I want you to eat an apple, I want you to understand why this apple, rather than you spending $1 that you have to go buy ding dong or popcorn or something, you buy a banana, why it's important. So I want to write about the nutrients of this apple. I want to write about how it will make you feel better, the vibrancy that it brings, how it crowds out all the other stuff. That has been my mission. And I didn't come to this country. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a millionaire. I don't have family legacy money that I'm working on. What I know in my heart is that helping people be healthy means giving them joy,
Mhm.
giving them happiness, and
Mhm.
it gives me happiness. And then my blessings come. But if there is one thing that we can all do, there is something that we think can be better in our community. Don't wait.
Mhm.
Don't look for somebody else to do it. Just do it. Every little bit that you do matters.
Mhm.
If we can think that when I started teaching, hosting these free workshops, at some point I had 300 moms. They were moms on one platform. And 4 or 5 years later on that platform, I had 45,000 moms. What it
Crazy.
tells me is how much people need help.
Mhm.
And I don't talk about a lot of different things. It's just wellness. So this is something that people need help with. And it was something that I saw in my community that I knew needed fixing. And I still continue to do my little best to be part of the solution.
Mm. I love that. I love that you saw a need and you filled it, and I think that's a great takeaway for all of us of be paying attention, number one, to where your community needs help, and then number two, like you said, don't be afraid to just start.
That's right.
Don't feel like you need to know all the answers. I do have a question about subsidies that you talked about, subsidizing grocery stores in affluent white neighborhoods and not in lower income Black neighborhoods. What do you find would be the best way to affect that? Would that be local, like voting in your local politics? How do people get clued in to that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh. I think that's as the best question anybody have asked me in a while, especially where we are today. People don't realize the power that's in our vote. And I'm not just talking about presidential elections. Your local legislators are the people who take policies to Congress, right? To Capitol Hill. So you have to pay attention. How you vote matter. You need to follow the money. And that's the thing that I'm so happy, Sonja, with you and Yuli, when you started this food and wellness collective, because I think as content creators, whenever there is policies that are coming up, whether it's the farm bill, we can amplify on social media so people are aware because people don't even realize how interconnected these things are.
Mm-hmm.
SNAP, which is the weak subsidy that a lot of young parents, a lot of underprivileged families use. At some point, in this country. I can't remember how many years ago. I remember it might be 2 months. I use week. I use what Snap today.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the past 2 years, they've been working aggressively to dismantle it or to reduce the funding that goes into SNAP. Those things do matter.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention, really pay attention on your local politics. But I think this is where we can help. We can help with the Food and Wellness Collective. We can help bring awareness with this, but please vote and really go and look. There is a website that I'm trying to remember the name, but I'll let you know so you can tag it when you post this. And what they do is actually track local politicians, how they vote. So you can actually see if people are voting in alignment with the things that are important to you. You can see. For a long time, I was under independent because my politics is the health of children. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a liberal. I vote for what matters to kids.
Right.
So I'm always looking. What's important to you? Is it the same thing that's important to me? In America today, that we have an abundance of food, people throw food away. We have kids who go to bed without food in this country. Or we have kids who, because their parents are working back to back and they live in a food desert, they can't just walk and buy food. They would eat bread for 2 days. Just plain white, cloudy bread that is totally deprived of nutrients. But we have the power to make change. In your community, you don't have to go too far. Start in your community, where you live, the neighborhood right next to you. Drive around and see if there is a need. Talk to the people that comes to your church. Make friends. Talk to them and see, what do you need? We don't have to always try to do things that makes us feel good. We have to, if we want to help, we need to do the things that people need. So ask.
I love that. I see a bunch of commenters who are agreeing with you. Thank you, everyone, for weighing in. And I love what you said, Agatha, about being for the health of children. Not saying I'm this party or that party, but saying here's my big issue and passion, and taking the power away from the partisan system and making it about your issue and your core passion. I loved hearing that. If people who are listening have questions for Agatha, please feel free to jot them down in the comment window. We would love to take a few questions if you have them. I have noticed a lot of people chiming in, so we appreciate that. One thing I wanted to mention was Agatha and I are going to be part of a food policy committee that's part of our Food and Wellness Equity Collective, because we realize so many of the content creators and entrepreneurs a part of our group are really passionate about policy. And as we were talking, I was thinking maybe if those of you listening are interested in food policy, perhaps we could start up something like a food policy newsletter. I know I subscribe to some different newsletters that kind of keep me in the know about different issues, so that could possibly be a way. If you're listening, if you're a reader of either of our platforms and you want to know more about food policy, that could be one way that we could start to share some of that information. And I'll say I'm definitely not an expert, so I am so thrilled to have Agatha who can really help lead us in that.
I am super, super, super excited about this food and wellness because we are going to be able to make an impact. We are. But I think if I remember correctly, you would ask, like, what can we do in our communities? What can our white sisters, white mothers do in the community? Let's not stop being present. Let's really try to educate. Let's try to bring awareness to things that need a little bit of fixing. Let's not judge so much, and let's not be afraid, because I know this space of racism, inequality, it's such an uncomfortable conversation. But as mothers, especially for us mothers, this is an important conversation because we are also raising up children who tomorrow are going to be the adults in communities. So we need to start at home, just helping educate our children how best to treat everybody, no matter how different they are. We also, for those of us who know a little bit more, when you have somebody in your immediate community, it doesn't matter even whether it's a person of color, black or brown, but a lot of us are the ones with the issues. Somebody who is really not eating the right way. Look for a way to help them, especially if they have children. Look for a way to say that is a treat. That thing that your child is eating every day, that every day when you come to drop your child at the daycare, that Oreo or whatever it is that your child brings every day, is what's making your child a little bit overweight. It's what's making your child have these issues. I'm not trying to judge you. I'm just trying to say, it might be give a banana, give an apple. This is support. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like, oh well, I don't want to get involved. But if you can think that I am where I am, and remember I said I had 300 moms, and we went to 45,000 moms, and the only thing that I've been doing in that space is educating, talking to moms, talking to parents, talking to whoever caregiver is ready to listen. Like, well, yeah, okay, you like the mac and cheese. Let's reduce a little bit of the of the cheese. Let's put a little bit of cauliflower instead. The child won't know. Those little things. A majority, I don't know 45, I'm from Nigeria and Cameroon. I don't know all these people. But today I have this extended family, all because I wanted to help. And they trusted the fact that I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I'm coming from a place of, I can really help you. You don't have to, you're not your ancestors' worst nightmare, whether they have this gene or they have that. I'm trying to look for the nicest way to say it. Your parents, what you inherited, what's been going from one generation to the other, is mostly bad eating habits that we need to just try to break. So your family and the next generation coming can start experiencing vibrant health. People tell me all the time, well, yeah, your kids eat this way because, you're African. I'm like, well, my kids were born right here. So I say this not to judge, but I say this to say you can feed your kids ear infection, tooth decay, and all those things. It's not as normal because some of us have kids that haven't experienced those. The way they eat really matters. And every little change that you make goes a long way. So this is something that in our communities we can do. You can look at your friend and you're like, well, that's not so good. If your kids are healthy at home because you're doing things a particular way, share that health, because health is wealth. And granted, there are some people that you would share and they won't want you to share anymore. but you know in your heart that you've tried and you can move on. But
Mm-hmm.
those are things that we can do in our community
Mm.
to help.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, you're talking about the foods that you eat in your home. What does the food of Agatha's house look like? What kind of foods do you eat? Is that kind of a fusion of foods you grew up with American foods?
I and it, people ask me this all the time. Are you a vegetarian? Are you vegan? Are you this? Are you this? I'm neither. I eat a lot of healthy foods that's influenced by my childhood. Some of them I would tweak, but I love beans, I love rice, I love plantains. We do a ton of veggies because growing up today, when I look back, I'm like, that's interesting. We ate a lot of plant based, not because
Mm-hmm.
it was a trendy diet. It was just how people eat. You don't eat meat every day. So it could be koki, which is like bean pudding and plantains, and it could be rice and beans. It could be cassava and stewed vegetable. And then on the weekends, I remember as a kid on Sundays, you know you're going to have beef. And then on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday you would have fish. But a majority of the time it's just plant. And that's how we eat today in my home. I do eat meat, but not as much. And sometimes I'll post for weeks because the food I share on my social media platform are things I just make at home. I don't I don't do a production like cook and then share. When I cook, I share. Sometimes I cook, the picture is not so nice. I take with my phone. I'm like, well, I will share this, but that's it. And so I can go for weeks, and people are like, well, are you sure you're not vegan? We haven't seen any meats. And I'm like, well, I do eat meat. The difference is when I eat meat, when I eat beef, for example, it has to be grass-fed beef. I really try to stay out of industrialized foods.
Mm-hmm.
That by itself is a whole different box. But when I eat beef, I want good quality beef because that's the other thing that people don't think about, especially now that we're talking about or trying to boost our immune system and all these things. If you are working so hard, you're eating all the fresh fruits and vegetables, and then you're still eating industrialized beef, that's a problem because the ratio of the omega 3 and omega 6 is a lot higher because that type of cattle eats grains. And what causes a lot of inflammation in the body is that type of fat that oxidizes so much. So that's another problem. But I love in the summer, it's a lot of salads,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of greens. In the winter, it's anything that's heavy. Corn, lots of soups, butternut squash. I mean, check my IG page, you'll see I share a lot. But 80% of the time, I eat and feed my family food that's nourishing to the body. I call it life-giving foods. And 20% of the time, we splurge on whatever it is that we like. So we are not on any particular type of diet. I just know in when it's one thing that I do um during like the colder months, flu season, which I have extended during this whole COVID issue, we don't do dairy. The only thing we do most of it will be just like Parmesan cheese because of course it has a little bit of prebiotic, probiotic. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But we reduce dairy, and then sugar, which is something my home is a soda-free home. My youngest is 15. He's never had soda. If he's had soda, then it might be tested in somebody's house. But in my house, kids don't do soda.
Yeah.
But then I don't want them deprived, right? I make a lot of nice fizzy drinks with real ingredients, real sweet fruits that has natural occurring sugars. That's good for us because, of course, the brain, we need glucose, we need sugar,
Hmm.
not just that type of processed sugar that hits you like, like crazy. But
That sounds like just the way that we eat around here. And I love that you said 80% great, amazing, whole food, beautiful, fresh foods, and then 20%
that's right.
whatever. And that's
That's
kind of
right.
what we've found to be is a really good way to keep things sustainable and not feel like you have to
That's
be
right.
legalistic about the way you eat. And I do also like what you said about drinks. When Alex and I first started eating healthy years ago, we gave up soda. Well, I was never really a big soda drinker, but Alex used to drink many cans of Mountain Dew per day and gave it up. And
Wow.
so life was so much better. But we do try to make sure to have bubbly, fizzy, interesting,
Yeah,
herby, fruity drinks around so that we can feel like we're drinking something interesting.
that's right.
That kind of fills that craving. So I love that you said that.
I Huh, on another day, I'm going to ask you how he gave it up, especially
Oh,
Mountain Dew, because
yeah.
I have people that I've worked with
Yeah. That
that
was
they're
pretty
like,
much
I
what he did. It was cold
yeah,
turkey, just
that's right,
stop. Yeah.
that's right. So proud of him. That's amazing. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
now, I mean, taking a sip of it is it's so overpowering when you haven't your taste buds aren't used to it anymore. So
that's right. That's right.
Um, all
That's
right.
right.
Well, we got a couple of questions. We are
Okay, I'm
running
ready.
a little out of time. But we have a couple questions. We had
Okay, I
one.
can see your question, so you have to tell me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We had
Yeah.
one pediatrician who was wondering about people who are on WIC, the WIC program, Women and Infant is what is the acronym? You probably know it better than I
Yeah.
do. Um,
Yeah. We,
How about people who are on that program who shouldn't be? Are they limiting the options for other families who really do need to be on the program? I'm not sure if you can speak to that.
I mean, I of course, people who are on week that shouldn't be are limiting the availability of that program to others. But I don't, that's a different level of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to me is that something like WIC, which I'm happy because today with WIC, they can get organic food for babies. What's important is that when you make programs like this, you don't just put low quality foods under that program. It took a lot of work. I think this just happened either 4 or 5 years ago that parents can use WIC to get organic baby food. They couldn't do it forever, but now they can. So that's what I look into. When you have it, what can you do with it? What type of food can you get? It's not just sodas and bread and cereal, but you can actually get beans. You can get real food. They keep updating it. It's getting better little by little. And as much as we fight to change some policies, we also have to help. Like you, as you said, you are the pediatrician. When you have clients coming in, you still, it's, and now it doesn't, you don't have enough time. You're given 15 minutes to see a patient and do all the things you need to do. But I don't know how you create time to really help your patients start taking a little bit of responsibility. Like, yeah, this is your situation, but you can grow above. You can step above this situation because you have these kids. You have your children. So to answer that question, yeah, there are people who have access, who use these benefits that they shouldn't be. But the good news is at least the benefit is there so they can use it.
Right.
But we want this benefit to cover a wide range of real food, not just cheap, snacky type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great. Thank you for answering that. I'm going to skip to just one final question because we're running
Okay,
out of time.
that's right.
What current policy is important for people to pay attention to? So is there one policy of everything that is out there right now related to food that that people who are listening should be paying attention to?
I think for food is the farm bill.
Okay.
So
Farm
it's
bill.
not a policy, it's a bill. Because in that bill, you have all this other stuff. So it will be the farm bill. Keep your eye open and look at that farm bill. And I would look for that company to the one that is a non-profit organization. I don't know if it's called Food Action Network, but I would tell you or put that name
Okay,
when
send
you
that to
share
me.
this
Yeah.
live. Yes, because that's all they do. They track how our elected officials vote from local all the way to the top. Yeah.
All right, have your eye on the farm bill, everyone, and hopefully as we create this food policy committee within our collective, maybe we can help even further for people to break it down, because I know for me,
Right.
it can be really confusing, and it's nice to have someone who's kind of the translator for everyday people of like, what does this really mean and what are the things we should be paying attention to? So I will collaborate with Agatha and Yoli and others that will be on this team, and hopefully we can bring you some really helpful and actionable information. So anything else, Agatha, that you want to share with the people who are listening or the people who will be listening when we rebroadcast this?
What do I want to share? During this period of COVID, that we are all trying to eat healthy, to be healthy, because we have this ferocious virus that doesn't have a vaccine yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we all believe that our human body, it doesn't matter where we are, because I know there's a lot of fear, people with pre-existing conditions and all those different things.
Mm-hmm.
This human body that we're gifted with is a powerful machine that all you need to do is start providing it with the right tool that it needs to strive. And it is different for each and everyone. Your body is not the latest trendy diet. The only trend that's going to work for you is the one that you try and it responds to you.
Mm.
So try as much as you can to eat the right foods and do it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And try as much as you can to reduce stress, because that's another thing people don't realize, how much stress create havoc in their system and make them sick. Try and seek joy, because that's another thing. When you're sad, you're depressed, that also creates inflammation. It weakens your immune system. You honestly do have control. As desperate and as crazy as your situation might be, just being alive, waking up every day and breathing is a gift. So try the best that you can to just be grateful for it.
Mm.
I think that's it.
Amen. A good word. Well, Agatha, thank you so much for spending time with us today. For everyone who's listening, I will link multiple times to all of Agatha's channels, her personal Instagram, and then also Yummy Spoonfuls. Make sure to look for Yummy Spoonfuls in your local grocery. I assume you're everywhere nationwide.
In Walmart
In
stores.
Walmart,
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
Amazing. And yeah, I'll link to some of the things we talked about today as well. So Agatha,
Yeah.
thank you so, so much for being here. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.